tune either. It's very rough. So I'm gonna get the idle to 10. Here we go. Not bad though. Burning all the WD-40 out that I had in it to store the engine. What's up, guys? So we're going to be working on the 69 GMC today. Got a whole bunch of stuff to do to this. It's back from exhaust. The exhaust is on, came out great, sounds great. Gonna be making my throttle bracket today. So I've got to modify the ICT one we got so I can keep it in line with this, make everything good. We got a second fan. We're doing 2 fans on this radiator. Got to crimp all these AC lines, got to do clamps on all the coolant stuff. Have to make a lower radiator hose. We're waiting for a 90-degree bend to come in for this upper, because we're going to bring this straight across and then 90 degrees up into there, so that way I can run my air intake tube out and dump the filter right here. What else do I got? A bunch of other small stuff. The actual steering wheel that's going to be on it should be here today. And let's see, since the last time we talked, the whole front end is in altogether, grill's all in, all the lights are wired. Same with the rear. I got the rear bumper on, all lined up and done. All the rear lights are also wired, with the exception of the plate light, which we're waiting to get here. And the plate cutout there is actually sitting over there, so I'm going to put that on too. And we'll be going from there. Let's see, what else did I do inside, actually? So, temporary steering wheel's on. I've got the Prindle mounted up there. I have to adjust it down on the transmission so everything lines up. Put all the levers on, the column and everything. I've got to cut this stock down on the wipers so this sits nice and flush when the lights are off. And I got to find where our wiper knob is. Clean up a little bit more wiring underneath. And we're extremely close to test drive time. First things first though, Avalanche has to go outside. First things first. This is my throttle cable bracket. Mounts through these 2 holes. You can see this line I have scribed here. I've got to cut that material out. Same thing on top. We're going to be using this hole for the throttle cable, but I need to bring this whole bracket down and in towards the intake, so that way this will be in line with my throttle cable cam. So we're going to bring that over to the vise and we're going to do that. Like the late great Patches O'Houlihan once said, visualize an attack. So we have this bracket made now. I'm just going to do a little bit more cleanup on it, paint it, do a little bit of fill in where this old emblem or logo was, so it doesn't look like that, and we're good. We've got 0 through 100% throttle pull on it. The pedal is right where it needs to be. So next I'm going to work on getting this upper radiator hose how I want it to be. Good old Patches O'Houlihan strikes again. So that's exactly what I was envisioning in my head. That's perfect. We've got heat shrink ends for all the ends. I've got to take this off, clean it, paint it, get that sticker off of there, obviously. And then I can finish shrink this one on there, and then I can move on to the lower hose, which is going to be a pain in the ass. So we've got multiple ends here. What we ended up settling on was using the one that comes with the Holly, and we're just going to have to make a super tight bend to get over there. And then we got annoying morons I work with over here. That's Adrian. He's special. He's like a parrot with Tourette's. Okay, here we go. That's my upper radiator hose. I haven't put the two ends on yet. I don't like to do those until the very end, just in case there's an issue, but I think that's looking pretty good. It's time to grab my adapters and whatnot and fab up this lower hose. Lower radiator hose is done. Not totally happy with it, but it'll work, and it's going to look better after we do some adjustment. So we had to end up coupling it down to what the radiator size, to what the thermostat outlet size was. It's also very tight behind here, so what we're going to do before we finish clamp everything is we're going to clearance this bump up in the frame here. It'll give us about 3/8 of an inch underneath there, and then once we clamp this, we can actually clamp it and twist these silicone hoses to manipulate it where we want it to be. Throttle bracket's off. That's getting painted right now, and I decided to start laying out and putting in the air intake system. Now I'm really impressed by this system. I don't know, the boss man got it, I don't know which one it is. Actually, that's an air raid filter box, and it all came in the box together. So I think this is an air raid universal kit, but it came, this whole tube, this other side basically came down and up and around, so you've got a bunch of 45s, some 90s, a bunch of straight sections. They give you some couplers. The only thing that wasn't part of this kit was this 90 coupler right here, because we needed a tight 90, obviously, to clear everything here, and if we had to use this 90 with, say, this coupler, it just was going to stick out further and end up hitting the radiator. But I'm pretty happy with how this came out. It's cleared all the way around. So what I'm going to do is make a mount. They actually give you straps, clamps, everything. So I'm going to make a mount with one of the straps from right here to hold this whole thing steady, and probably cut 3-4 inches off of this, put the filter in, so the filter is right down here. And the only other thing I've got to modify on this is underneath right here, I'm going to drill and tap in a 90-degree 3/8 barb to run a hose to our other valve cover for our PCV system. So it's looking good. I'm going to actually put the clamps on this one and pull the filter out of the box and see how much I got to cut off of this, and then start making up my bracket for that to mount this whole thing. I'm actually moving along on this pretty smoothly today. Maybe it's the air conditioning. It's definitely the air conditioning. Gotta say, I like how that came out. Nice and solidly mounted right here with brackets that came with the air raid universal kit too. Painted all those. I actually might go back and pull all the clamps off and paint all the clamps too. But looking up. We're in the interior. I'm gonna put the radio plate in. So we get this nice billet plate that's going to mount here. Thankfully, I double checked and didn't just go and use the template that came with the thing, because the template was only 7/8 roughly of the size of the actual plate. So, I mean, you can see here, this is the template I just made. So, a little bit of a size difference, which would have sucked drilling holes into the dash. So we're gonna drill these holes, and I'm gonna stress the entire time, because, you know, everybody loves drilling holes into painted surfaces. And then I'm gonna film it in case I screw up, because every time you fail, you usually get a lot more likes on your videos and stuff. So, but here goes nothing. Here we go. I'm already sweating. Not because it's hot out either. Let's see, which size drill bit do I need? I'm pretty sure these are standard threads, so I'm gonna make the hole just a tad bigger. I'm gonna start smaller, so it's gonna be my final hole. This is gonna be my pilot. Let's get it going. I'm gonna have temporary bolts too to hold this thing in once I'm through. I was gonna say, did I pick the most dull drill bit I have? Jesus. Holding all my weight forward and backwards, because I don't want to go into the dash. Even though it's going to be covered, I hate scratches, even if you never see them. Perfect, one more. Let me tell you, I'm still sweating. That's what I was feeling. The drill bit sliding back into the truck. Here we go. Yeah, we'll pull that off. So, those are my pilots. We'll get my main holes drilled. I'm gonna go get my temporary bolts just to get this thing mounted in there. I really do not like the chuck on this drill. Jesus. I think I did it. Woo. All right, it's mounted. You wanna know what the worst part was? Wasn't the stress of drilling through the painted dash. It was the aggravation of trying to get these, what are they, quarter 10, well 410, tiny little friggin' screws, button heads, through this way, getting them first started and then getting them tightened. Thankfully, where did I put it? Here it is. My iFixit tool set, perfect one for it, and these things are awesome. Nice billet aluminum, the tops freewheel, so you can just kind of put your finger back there and spin these suckers. They're made for rebuilding computers, which I also do, you know, because I build my own gaming computers. But let me tell you, for interior work on stuff like this, or the Ferraris or Maseratis, these things work the balls. And also, what's nice about this aluminum receiver is If you know anything about radios, you know you got your single DIN, double DIN, all that stuff. But you know, most modern radios, which is what this is getting, I believe it's getting a JVC deck and block punk speakers. They come with a cage that the actual radio body slides into. This opening here is machined so it exactly fits that cage. So the cage pops in here, the radio pops in the cage. I've got my wires back here already. So we have battery power and switched power and illumination. I'm just going to tap into my wire that's already back there for all the illumination throughout the dash. Also, we got the washer wiper button on. I haven't tightened it yet. I got to tighten it, but it's cool because it matches the cigarette lighter one. And interior wise, oh, I got the glove box in. I didn't show you guys that. So we ran this up here. I'm thinking I'm going to mount it so it's at an angle this way, so it's somewhat facing the driver, so it's not like here where the driver can't see it. And interior stuff is coming up soon. I think next week they're going to start doing that. They've got to take off the latches and paint all that, and then they can put the door panels and window crank, door opening crank, and we can start finishing up the small stuff like the knob for the emergency brake, get the e-brake cables fully hooked up, stuff like that. And then oh, I didn't even notice the headliner's in. Look at that. That looks nice. Second coolant fan mounted. Now if you notice one's higher than the other, there's reasons for that. It's not just for fitment past the cold air kit and hoses and whatnot. When you get into cooling a radiator like this, if you're using dual fans, you want to cover as much surface area as possible of the radiator, of air coming through it. Now, when you're in traffic, you obviously don't have airflow from driving coming through the radiator, so your fans are doing all that. This is just a regular cross-flow radiator, so it's not as critical, but it's definitely good practice to still do it like this so you cover as much as you possibly can. If I was using one big fan that was the entire width of the radiator, wherever, you can put it wherever. So we'll say the Trans Am that we just got done doing. That is a dual pass radiator. Inlet and outlet are both on one side. Flows through. There's a block on the end tank on this side. Flows through the top half, down, and then back through the bottom half. Now that one with dual radiator fans, you absolutely want to make sure you have one up and one down, because you have them both in the middle or both up top, both down bottom. You're only cooling one of those two circuits in there. Same thing stands if you're using one big fan. It's fine wherever, as long as you're getting the majority of your fins cooled. So I'm going to throw the cold air kit back on there, and then we're going to go on to wherever else we have with stuff to do that I still have a big old checklist of stuff to do. So to cap it off for today, I'm going to actually get some heat shrink tubes, same things I used on the upper radiator hose, on these heater core lines, and I'm going to crimp these final three AC lines and make sure everything is tight. Because then I think I can put a charge in it, make sure the system is good. If you haven't ever seen one of these crimp tools for the AC lines, this is it. It's pretty cool. So you have all your different sizes. Basically it's hand pump hydraulic, and you know, this pushes up and it gives you a 360-degree crimp all the way around it. So I've got to figure out what sizes we have there and then do some crimping. So I've already crimped my other two hoses. I'm going to crimp this one, and I'm going to show you how that tool works. First things first, it's not massively important on this line, just a little bit, because I want this port to be up, but these are loose, so I'm just going to make a quick line for reference that's where this has to be on this hose. So now I'm going to take the hose off, put the right size jaws in the tool, and then I'll be back. Alright, here we go. So I've got the number 12 crimps inside this thing. It's a guesstimate on my part. Usually the hoses will have what size they are, 10 mil, 12 mil. Then you have the, what is it, the RBS and the RSB hoses, which are a thinner wall. But what we're going to do Trap your hose in it, clamp it, turn the valve off, get the jaws so they're somewhat in the middle. Make sure your reference line is lined up. Listen to the door open and close 75 times, and then pump. Until you can't pump anymore. And that's it. And you crimped. So you can always crimp more, you can't crimp less. I think that this should be a little tighter, so maybe this is a 10, not a 12. So we're going to try that, see if I like that better. I think that's the ticket. Yeah, that's definitely a 10. There we go. That's much better. So we're all crimped like you saw. We just passed the vacuum test. I've got my heater hoses all heat shrunk crimped. We're going to find some PAG oil and then put a charge in this and see if everything holds. And just so you don't think I'm a total tease with all my talk of it running, because we're about to load it up on the trailer to bring it back to Lakeville. Still needs a ton of tuning, but we don't want to run it too long because there's still zero coolant in it. But hey, it runs. It sounds amazing.